Well, hello everybody. Let's see who's in. It's Juliet here from the Fan Club and Facade Academy and all that. And so tips at 2. This is going to try and do this regularly every month at on the first Tuesday of each month at 2 o'clock. Hence why it's called Tips at 2. So if anybody's in, say hello. It would be lovely to see you. But yeah, so today my plan is to do some eye designs. Yes, I've got Caitlin to be my model today, so I'm going to paint one on each side. A couple of designs which I've kind of, as ever, sort of made up on the spot. We'll see how they go. But that's kind of what you do when you're doing eye designs. It's very much about looking at that person, what they're wearing, their jewellery, and so on and so on. Yeah, so as I say, I just sort of tend to make it up. I mean, you can see, for instance, this fabric behind me, and that's the sort of thing that would inspire me. If somebody was wearing something like this, I would work from that fabric. I've got lots of other fabric around. Or you look at their jewellery, or sometimes their glasses, or their hair colour, or their eye colour, of course what they're wearing. Sometimes we do eye designs just because it's a sort of quicker way to keep the cue moving, so that you can adopt anything. So if they say they want a tiger, you say, right, okay, today we've got to be quick, I'm going to do an eye tiger, so the eye of the tiger. You've got to make it sound exciting, and then they love it. So that's what I do. But most of all, painting at adult events, evening events, all that kind of stuff. That's where it comes in handy, and certainly festivals, of course. And then you can sort of elaborate it. And I generally charge the same if I'm doing paper face, because even though you might only be working on one bit of eye, you can elaborate it, you can add a bit more detail, you might add a bit of bling or a few jewels or some glitzer or liquid bling, that kind of thing. Lots you can do with it. Yeah, and the trick on the eye design is position. Anyone who's in the fan club with me, that's my membership club, will know all about the flow lines and the focal points, and that's what's so important with eye designs. I've got a couple of designs I want to show you. One is something like this kind of thing, so it's sort of a delicate fine line work, and so I'm going to use a fine liner, not surprisingly. And I'm going to keep my palette fairly limited. We need you a bit straighter, don't we? And there we go. How's that? A bit more centered? There. Going to do my line work, as I say, fairly limited palette. I'm using kind of a very dark red, which is a sort of dark plum, and then some orange and also some black. And this, a very fine liner. This particular one is Rosemary & Co, and it's a 315. Okay, it's Rosemary & Co 315, it's a number 2, but basically any liner, whichever liner you're happy with. And for this, there's so many different shapes you can do for an eye design. You can simply take it from the corner and take something out. You can have your focal point at the sort of highest point of the brow and then take things round. On this one, I'm going to actually do a kind of S shape. So the center of the S is going to go at the corner of the eye here. So I'm going to take it round and then something like that. So that's going to be the basis. I always plot a shape like this first of all. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of things that really are helpful to know when you're doing something simple like this. Often we just take some more swirls off it, But a lovely little trick is to add a kind of little piece there, and then I could have another one, say, here, and then take little things out of them. And this can have little things coming out as well. Yeah, so those are always fun to do, is just to add that little something on the line. So it's a kind of, it's almost like a seed head part way there. And then another little. Yeah. So this is the sort of basis of the start, and then I just do a few little flicky lines coming out of there, and a couple coming out of there. And then let's have a look. Maria, you're asking about fringes. Yeah, I generally always carry with me some hair grips, and I pin them back. If a lot of children don't mind you pinning them back, and then you can say that you can take the grip and then everyone will see your lovely design. And if they don't want to, sure, you have to keep it, you know, quite minimalist. You can usually get something central and then something around the sides. Now, and then here I'm going to put a kind of funnel shape like that. And that, and then we'll make this the top of the funnel, and so things will come out of that. I just put a few little lines coming down, and then again, you know, you've got to work with the space you have. This is where everything has to be adjusted, but whatever you do, whatever lines you do, try and find a center flow line of some sort, and make sure that all your lines come off it so that they could stand alone. This is something I'm always saying. So for instance, if I had cut off this piece here, that wasn't there, this line can still stand alone, if you see what I mean. So that can, yeah, that has its own life. Right, now we're going to take some little lines out of there, and I'm going to get a bit of orange and do a few little flowers and things. As I say, it's just, you know, you've got to work with the space that you've got. So I'm going to do little sort of leafy bits leading into these. Again, make sure that each line has a life of its own. It flows into the line, you know, that whatever you want to call it, twig or something. That's what I mean by flow. Because if you just had, you know, a line like that, and then you stick things out here, they don't flow. So it's got to flow into that line that we've created. Okay. And also, I mean, I haven't done it all the time here, but if you try and start with these little leaves, bigger at one end and smaller at the other, it doesn't matter which way, it could be big at the beginning, you know, as long as it gets smaller and smaller. And that definitely pleases the eye and is how nature works as well. Okay, let's do a little flower in the middle here, I think. So I'm actually drawing the shape of these petals. I'll just lean in a little bit so they can see closer. There we go. Right. I'm just going to put a few lines in the middle of each of those petals. I think I'll do the same down here. So I'm actually doing this, as I say, with the 315, which it takes a bit of practice. You've just got to have a very delicate touch, and you'll notice that I'm always resting on my little finger. Now at the base of each of these three, I'm going to do little black. And then kind of round shape as well. A few little dots in the centre there. And I want to kind of shade slightly in the center of this funnel, so I'm going to do it in a bit darker. Let's go back to my plum. It's all about everything coming out from there, really. Now, what else should we add in? You see, sometimes on the job, that's maybe all you've got time for, so you just leave it there. Just see how it goes. I think we'll have a little bit of that black. There. Yeah. See, as I say, I've limited my palette slightly. Just wondering whether to do a There we go. Fancy putting some little wobbly lines. No particular reason. I just think it adds a bit of something. Yeah. Do you know what? I've decided I'm going to add a little bit of grey rather than white, just to have some other little light element. But if I had white, I just feel it would be a bit stark, so decided not to. It's a light grey. What is it? It's a Superstar. It's just called light grey. Sometimes white is just too much, you know. But this can add a bit of highlights. And then you could add glitter if you wanted. I'm not going to bother, that's up to you really, glitter. But you see, I hadn't even done any eyeshadow, which I sometimes do. On the other side, I'm going to do a kind of moon shape, sort of, well, curves. Let's see what happens. Right. There we go. This is going to be a bit different. So again, curving round the eye. So it's going to be a thin, thick, thin. Okay. Trying to make sure you really, it's almost following that figure of 8 shape that there might be. So I'm doing this in a silver. You could do it in blue or grey or any colour you like, but it's going to be a lighter colour. And as I say, this, I want to keep in mind this focal point the whole time. So I'm now going to do another line that's going to come. And when you're doing this kind of design, you've always got to keep in mind the negative space. Okay, so this is going to be thin, thick, thin. And there. And the same one here, start a bit further down, thin, thick, thin. So the negative space is that space in between the things you're doing. So try and make the negative space the same. I think this design probably would have helped with some, you know, silver eyeshadow or something, but hey, I haven't today. And quite often if you're doing adult events, you know, they've got makeup on and they don't want it disturbing. So you really do have to work just on the outside. But then I would connect up with, you know, quite often bring the colours of their eyeshadow into it. Simone, you're saying if you're just doing one side, would you add eyeshadow to both? Sometimes, not always, I think. Quite often if I, for instance, if this was the side I was doing and I decided to put some silver because maybe she didn't have eyeshadow, then I might sometimes do a similar design, but tiny, just on that side. Right, so let's make that a little bit bigger. So that's a bit more dramatic. Now I'm going to take one around the outside of here. I'm going to drop it into there and then out. You know, lean in a little bit so you can see that. Now, if you wanted, you could have done this with a one stroke. You know, those people who love using one strokes, then that's what you could do with this. I've chosen not to, but there you go. So now I'm going to edge it with some black, and I'm using a tiny brush, a number 2, but this is very pointy. That's the beauty of it. This is it's another rosemary and co. It's a 366 rosemary and co, and it's a number 2 because it has a really super point, tiny point, and so I can rely on it to make a very pointy design. So I'm now going to edge it, which is not that easy always. Some people prefer a liner. I prefer this. I would just say work fairly fast. You know, look up slightly for me. There we go, that's around there. I'm thinking that might be a little, could do with being slightly bigger or thicker in the middle to give it a bit more like up there. Yeah. Okay. So let's tilt this way slightly. So I'm staying aware of my negative space. Don't worry if it's not perfect. And this one as well. Thing is, with this, you can actually go thin to thick if you want with this very fine brush. Can't get on with liners. No, I know. A lot of people can't. It takes a lot of practice. You've just got to play and play and play on your arm, on paper, until you get it. I think, you know, don't think about working on the tip. Think about working on, you know, once you've laid it, you've got to work with it. It's not designed to sort of do little line work like that with a liner. Okay, now we're going to put a bit of shape on this. So I'm going to do circles. You could do any design you want on here. Once you've got your shapes, you know, you can fill in with whatever you like. If you're into Zentangling, for instance, you could really go to town and think of different shapes you can put in. So I've just thought I'd just go simple today. And I'm just doing little circles. This is calling out for quite a big one. But the nice thing about this, I think, is the fact that they go smaller and smaller. And drawing perfect circles is difficult. But again, the more you do it, the better you'll get. These aren't perfect, but you don't need to worry too much. Okay, let's get... So, you know, on the widest part, I'm doing, nearly dropped the brush. You do the biggest circles and then make them smaller and smaller. And they don't have to touch. You can do them how you like. If anyone's painting along, brilliant. Raven brushes. Liners take a lot of practice, they do. Yeah. Right, let's carry on doing this. When you are doing circles, you must have the brush absolutely perpendicular to the surface. So always bear that in mind. There we go. So there's my little circles. And you know what? If you didn't have any time or any more time, you could stop there. You could add glitter and that would be that. I'm actually going to add some inner circles. Thing is, once you get going with one particular shape like this, then you can do it quite quickly actually. And the other thing to always consider in face painting is when things start big, get smaller, 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 that is a very pleasing thing to the eye. It's that whole P-H-I. And now in this bigger ones, I've got space to put a black dot. And if I can't get a circle, then like in here, I'm just going to put a dot. This isn't the best dotter. I would normally change a brush. Well, actually, I probably wouldn't. And if you want to improve a line, never start at the end of it. Always start in the body of it and pull out. Again, that definitely needs some glitter, but it's not getting any today. You just have to add that yourselves. If you want. Glitters now in Europe, you can't make it anymore. So it's all going to go over to BioGlitter. In fact, even that might be banned at some stage, so prepare to not use it. There we go. I think that'll do. You could add white, some white dots. Certainly, you know, if you had any liquid bling. That would look really nice, I think. There we go. Yes, you could put a gem, you could put anything else you like in there, just decorate it up. But it just sort of frames the eye quite nicely, I think. So they're both different sort of things. Thanks for joining me, everybody. It's lovely to see you. And it will be up on the Facade Academy page. I think they keep it there for 30 days, and then it will all go over to the fan club. So have to watch it soon if you want to see it again. Anyway, so if you want to know any more or want to learn any more, then please do come and join us on the fan club. It's a weekly class live on a Thursday evening, UK time. Yeah, there's 2 years worth of classes on there now, all backlogged, all catalogued in there. So if you want to get in touch, please do. Lovely to see you all. Thank you very much. And I'll see you, well, all the fan club people, see you Thursday. All the rest of you, I'm here now every month. Okay, so lovely to see you. Thank you very much. Bye.